morning, everyone. I, Priya Miranda, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, extend a warm welcome to you all for the 8th webinar titled Industrial Applications of Artificial Intelligence, organized by Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering in association with IST SJC Student Chapter. Today we have amongst us an eminent resource person, Dr. Mohanraj Venkatachalam, data scientist in Renault Nissan Technology Business Center India, Private Limited. A warm welcome to you, sir. I also extend my welcome to all the participants in this webinar. I request Ms. Jayalakshmi, Assistant Professor, EC Department, to introduce the resource person to August audience.
Good morning all. Our resource person for today's webinar is Dr. Mohanraj Venkatachalam. He is currently working as data scientist in Renault Nissan Technology Business Center India Private Limited in Advanced Technology Group, Chennai. He also worked as data scientist in HCL Technologies Limited, Chennai. Sir has done his PhD in Madras Institute of Technology, Anna University, Chennai. His research areas includes computer vision, video analytics, and deep learning. His research works were also funded by Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. Sir has completed his Master's and Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science under Anna University. Sir has worked under various projects such as drawing file validation using faster RCNN deep learning architecture, smart parking system using YOLO V3 deep learning architecture, visual quality inspection of car in manufacturing plant using deep learning architecture, develop POC on pixel level segmentation using SqueezeNet and SegNet deep learning architecture, develop POC on suspicious activity recognition in video using CNN and LSTM, develop POC on face recognition in video using MobileNet and FaceNet deep learning architecture, etc. We are very delighted to have you with us today. A warm, hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Very good morning to you. I request everyone to please go on mute. So I've shared my screen. Can somebody confirm, is that visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah,
it's visible.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll be taking into know how we are trying to solve the business use cases into automobile as well as different industries. I have worked in AI. So to solve the business problem, like before I go into deep learning or kind of machine learning or AI, what was the traditional approaches like before the machine learning or deep learning? So what happens, the intention here, the use case, assume that the application here to perform a human activity recognitions. Okay. So the traditional approaches are like, in this case, the person is walking or the person is running or the person is, doing some cycling or he is doing an golfing activity. Okay, so what happens with the traditional approaches here? Basically, we have to extract a rule or the speed here. What we consider here, basically, we write 100 or 1,000 lines of instructions basically to perform certain kind of activity, right? So basically, there are two things we are providing as an input. One is here rule as an input and the data. So in this case, the data here we represent as images, right? So what happens? There are scenario where we will not be able to extract a speed or a rule at all. So in this case, where the person is playing in some golfing or the person is playing in some kind of playing an activity, right? So in such cases where we are not able to extract a speed at all. So in this case, so what we are trying to do, we write hundreds or thousand lines of instructions to perform a certain activity, right? So what happens, the problem here with respect to the traditional approaches here, basically we are not able to solve all the kind of activity when the user or the somebody else performing an activity, right? So but with respect to deep learning or machine learning, Basically, here also we provided two things. One is a image, and other one is an output variable or the label category. So basically, we give a set of several set of input data with the person is walking, and we say that given input images, what category it belongs to. In this case, category in the sense what activity it belongs to. So we give image, and the label is here saying that walking. We won't provide only one images where we give a n number of sample images for each kind of activity, and then we feed all these n number of sample data to either machine learning or a deep learning algorithms, where the machine started extracting all these numerical patterns. Okay, so if you look at here, these are the unique numerical patterns machine is able to extract by providing n number of sample data followed by the what category it belongs to. Okay, so one of the advantage here is that we'll be able to extract all these numerical patterns for all kind of activity. If you look at here, where we'll not be able to extract a speed or a rule at all in some of the scenarios, right? But here, a simple example here, if you look at here, consider an mathematical equations, right? So I have a mathematical equations y equal to 2x plus 1. Assume that. So I have a set of x value, and x is the input data, and the rule is the mathematical equations, right? So we'll be able to get the y value. So y we call it as an output by solving that by applying set of x value to the mathematical equations. We'll be able to get the y value, right? So here, what we are trying to do with respect to machine learning, we'll give input and output variable. So assume that x is given and y is given. So we are trying to derive these mathematical equations. So these are the n-dimensional numerical pattern which is extracted by the machines, which is unique in the natures. Okay, so once you have given the n number of training sample data, and then once the model is trained, machine is trained with the n number of sample data. If I feed some unknown data or the test data, machine will try to classify which category it belongs to, whether the person is running category or it's a riding some activity, or is playing on some golfing activity. So with the learned model, if you give it to the machines to predict or to classify what category it belongs to, the test data. Okay, so I'll show you in between some of the business use cases what we are trying to solve with respect to AI and ML. One of the simple scenario, like what we are trying to do with respect to the COVID-19, right? So we are in the pandemic situations. Most of the industries, they have started resuming their operations, right? So there are, government has given set of norms, the safety guidelines have to be followed, right? One simple example which I could say about the people has to wear a mask, and then they have to follow the social distancing, right? Uh, so if you look at here, where the person, so here what we did, we have built a AI model. The AI model, can someone confirm, is that video visible?
Sir, it's visible.
Okay, so here the intention here is to check whether the employees wears a face mask or not. So right now there are many scenario. What we do, usually we keep somebody security or some guys to know visually check at the all the employees whether they wear a face mask or not, right? So can we replace like AI based machines, AI based model? So what basically we did here, where we have trained a AI model. So to train a AI model, basically we have to provide a set of sample data with the person without mask and with mask, and then you build either machine learning or a deep learning based model, and then you try to know feed a live data, and based on the live data, model is able to predict whether it's basically a person with mask or without mask, and showing the probability or the confidence how far the machine is saying that no, it's a person with mask and without mask. Let me run with the live video. Probably you will be able to see the demonstration. So right now, what I did actually, I have the trained model, which already I have trained my model with the set of sample data with the deep learning models. So I'm not going to technically note, I'm not going insights what is going to happen inside the deep learning models, which I'll give you the overall what exactly with respect to deep learning. So basically, there are two phases with respect to either it may be machine learning or it may be deep learning. The first phase is the training phase. Basically, first you try to build a training phase by providing the n number of sample data, and then the machine starts understanding. There are two phases. One is the feed forward phase, and the other one is a backward phase. In the feed forward phase, basically you give the set of sample data. So basically. So now, if you look at here, I'm running a live demonstration basically. So with my web camera, and each camera feed goes to the face detection model. Once we have the face detection model, it tries to locate the face ROI, because our intention is to look at the facial head portions of the face. And then once we have all the things actually. And then once we have the face ROI, the cropped face ROI will be given to the the model of the either it may be machine learning or it may be deep learning models, and then it classify with the already trained model, and it will try to predict whether the person is with mask and without mask. So for this, if I want to build any the deep learning or a machine learning models, as I said, first training phase and the testing phase. In the training phase, if you look at here, let me show you one simple demonstration. So here, assume that here the application here to identify whether the given handwritten digit is belongs to 8 or not. In our case, with face mask and without face mask. Okay. So now, as I said, here we have two phases. One is a training and the other one is a testing phase or the inference phase. Okay. So in the training phase, where we provide a n number of set of data with the person wearing a face mask and without face mask, and then we have a deep learning or the machine learning models, and then what happens, we are trying to create a certain number of layers in the deep learning. Okay, so there are a number of layers, it may be n layers. So it will have a input layer and output layer. In between we'll have a set of hidden layers. Okay, so what is going to happen here, once you have the training data, you take the each of these training data and feed into this deep learning system, and then finally model will predict some output basically. With the predicted output, basically, there will be ground truth data. So there will be ground truth data, and then once you have the predicted output and the ground truth data, where you will have a error, and then the error where we are trying to back propagate through the previous layer, and then you keep training these. You keep iterating n number of epochs until the machine is able to understand between the person with mask and without mask. Okay. So these are the training data which goes like saying that the 8 we are saying it is a 1, and other than 8 digits we are classifying it as a 0. Okay. So once we have this trained model, you provide some unknown data to the trained AI model. The AI model is able to predict what category it belongs to. Okay. Some of the example here, what we are trying to say, given an 8 as a digit, and the model is trying to predict the probability score basically here. So we can say that the above 0.5 probabilities will be classified as a 1 classes, and less than 0.5 will be classified as a 0th class. Okay. So now, so once basically either it may be a machine learning or a deep learning models, we try to train with a n number of sample data. Based on the training, we'll be able to classify the unknown or the test data. Okay. So let me walk through with the pipelines. Suppose if you have some business use cases, so how you are going to train either a machine learning or the deep learning models. Okay. So let me walk through what are the steps has to be followed. Some business use cases or some applications. Okay. So some of the use cases with respect to machine learning or it may be deep learning. So one basic use case is like if you come across in the emails, right? There are categories called social, and there are categories called spam. So how does the machine is able to automatically categorize all these emails into a separate category, right? So assume that there are a set of emails which already have. So what I can do, like with the set of email boxes, which the more number of words which occurs with the Facebook or Twitter or it may be LinkedIn, so we'll be having a word count vector. Okay, so assume that there will be a n number of words are there, unique words are there. So we'll be having the word count vector. Each word, how many times it is appeared in your email boxes. Okay, so we'll be having a trained model with respect to the social the word count vector, and then you'll be having a similar to the test email boxes, which is a new email boxes. So we'll be matching with the pattern where if more number of words occurs in the social media related words, then the model automatically categorize it. Some of the examples here, to categorize the handwritten digits, like it may be 0 to 9, there are 10 different classes are there. Like before I go into detail of like a machine learning or it may be a deep learning, right? So when you look at some of the visual object, like which I explained about person wearing a face mask and without face mask, right? So how do I make machine to understand, or like usually what happens, the images are represented in a 2D array. Let me. So basically, if you look at here, this is the 2D array, which we are representing the each images in a machine as a 2D array. So suppose if you look at here, where we have a pixel matrix with the n number of rows and columns for the Apple, and similarly for the iPhone, right? But as in human brains, like what we are trying to do, suppose human looks at some object, right? So automatically it tries to categorize this object is belongs to apple fruits, right? So how are we, our human brains, you know it looks at several features, right? Like what we are trying to do, like with the color and with the texture and the shape, right? So usually what happens, whenever we look at new persons, like we introduce each others, and then we capture these faces with the human eye, and with the several features we try to distinguish between one person to other person, right? Similarly, what we are trying to do, we are trying to make a machine as a human brain. So AI is nothing but like we are trying to make a machine as a human brain. So in this case, we are trying to feed several sample data to machine to understand each of these category, and then that phase what we call as like a training phase. And whenever you give some new data, and it automatically tries to categorize or classify it. So basically, as I said, like so to understand any objects to the machines, we try to capture the n number of feature vector, like it may be a color, or it may be texture, or it may be shape, and then you concatenate all these feature vector, and then you feed into the machine learning algorithms. So there are, with respect to image and video analytics, there are several challenges needs to be considered. Like whenever assume that there is a face recognition applications, right? Assume that I wanted to build a face biometric application in a classroom environment, right? So in such cases, what happens, like there will be a person with rotating his face, and then someone will be a zero face, zero angle face, which is a frontal face, and someone will be in a 45-degree of angle of head faces. So so in such cases, what happens, like so we are not supposed to give a single face images for persons. By having the n number of angles where we need to capture the each face images, and then we have to feed into the models to understand whether it belongs to X or Y. Okay. So these are the different challenges needs to be considered. One of the other challenges that I was talking about, one of the challenges is the parking solutions, right? So I'm working on a smart parking solution where the solution has to work in a 24/7. So in such cases, basically what we have to do, we have to build no applications where daylight scenario, considering all the situation, it has to identify the vehicles, and then it has to identify the number plates. So these are deep learning models which we have developed for internal use applications to count the number of vehicles which are coming inside into the premises, and then count unique vehicles between the two-wheeler and the four-wheelers, and then recognize whether it's authorized vehicles or not. So these are parking management systems to track records of which are the vehicles which comes inside and when it goes outside. So and keep the dashboard in the entry of the gate saying that how many slots are available. Like due to restriction in the available slots, so we thought of like no, instead of going across here and there of parking way and then identify the empty slots, we thought of no, in the entry gate itself making the no available slots based on the counts of vehicle which entered inside. So these are the some of the solutions which I'm working. So earlier the one which I showed about like which will able to detect the number plates and the car. So now the next use case is to identify the number plates characters. So we have trained another deep learning models which will try to identify the characters no, in the car and then match with the DB whether it's authorized vehicles to enter inside into the premises. There are some of the cases where it was not able to recognize. So we have made a regex to validate the patterns of the number plates. Like it should start with the state and which district are belongs to, and either it may be one or two characters, or it may not be characters, and 4 digits. So when the patterns get matched, then we are trying to visualize the output of the number plates basically. So I was talking about like the basically the lighting or the illuminations, right? So usually whenever you build image and video analytics related solutions to the industry, your solution has to work in a 24/7, right? So when you have a proper lighting condition, then the images will look brighter, and when you are not having a proper lighting condition, then your images will look darker. So how your machine learning or a deep learning model, it's going to work on such an environment. Okay, so coming back to the other challenges, that the scale variations basically, the distance between the camera and the object. For example, if somebody is trying to take a pictures in a mobile phone selfie, right, the person who is closer to the camera, then his face region will looks larger, right? The person who is far away from the camera, the distance, right, so the face region will look smaller, right? So in this case, it's a object, it's a kind of cup, but it was taken in the different distance, then it may look as a different object, right? But though it is the same object, due to the scale variations, it looks as a different but our models, machine learning or deep learning models, as to say it's the same coffee cup. Coming back to the other common challenges, right, like when you say occlusions, right? The one on the left hand side, if you look at here, we have a 100% visually visible object with the dog. And if you look at the right hand side, where it's not 100% visible due to some other occluded with the other object. So if you look at, these are the common problem. If you look at the any public area, right, like airport or railway stations, right? So our intention is to build a object tracking or a person tracking, right? One person will be walking, other person in the behind the one another, right? So how are you? Our model is going to track such a person. So we are also working on some of the use cases with respect to you know uh, safety detection. So this is another use cases which I'm working. Basic. Sorry. With respect to manufacturing plant, here the use case here to whether employees follows the PPE, personal protective equipment, before they enter into the particular shop or the manufacturing plant. Sorry. The person has to wear the safety guidelines, which is a helmet and the vest and the safety shoes and the safety glove and the goggles, right? So right now, what happens? Currently, it is done by manually. There is a safety engineers. The job of safety engineers is to go into the particular area and then validate whether all the employees follows the safety guidelines, right? So in such cases, when we go into the particular area of the shop, what happens? There will be other objects, right? There will be machines or robots will be running, right? In such cases, the person, the helmet with the person wearing a helmet, you will not get a fully visibility of the object, right? In such cases, how your model or algorithm is going to handle in such cases? So it should capture properly and say that this particular person is not wearing a helmet, so generate a notification alert to the respective the supervisor or the higher persons. So these are some of the use cases what we try to work with respect to the business use case. So we should consider all these challenges when you try to build. As I said, take on simple use cases like here, I'm taking a facial emotion recognition as a business use case. So what are the pipeline has to be built? Okay. So first, once you have the clear understanding on the particular business problem, so the business problem which I said about the facial emotion recognition, whether the person is happy, whether the person is sad. Let me show you the demo. Then probably you try to think on the what are the steps are required. Okay, so here I'm just trying to show the already I have the trained model for the emotion recognition, which uses the deep learning based system. So here what happens basically, it tries to classify whether the person is happy, whether the person is neutral, whether the person is happy or sad or is angry or is there are 7 different emotions are there. So, but I just try to perform some 1 or 2 activity. There are different activity where the machine is able to identify or categorize different emotions based on the trained models. Okay. So now we know that what is the business use case here. Here the business use case here to perform a facial emotion recognition. So first we should identify how many category of emotions. So I assume that there are 7 different emotions which I want to train a model. So for the 7 different emotions, you have to collect different samples of data, different age group, different male and female category, and then different environment in the sense lighting conditions with proper and without proper lighting condition and rotating the angle. And one more thing is that when you try to collect data, once let's assume that I have a 10,000 data. Okay, so overall I collected the data. Once you have the data, then you have to your data has to be made as a structured data. So what is meant by here structured data? I was talking about the face mask detector, right? So if you look at here, this is called what we mean as a structured data. So with the person who are wearing a mask, which is categorized as a with mask. So this is what we call as a labels are called as a which output category. These are the images which are belongs to with mask category. And similarly, we have the images without mask category. Okay. Similarly, for our use cases, we have to have a folder structures for angry and neutral and happy. All the collected data has to be put into the respective directory. And then once you have the respective directory of structured data for the emotion recognition, and then partial data, which means basically I was talking about when we train either a machine learning or a deep learning model, there are 2 phases. One is a training phase and other one is a testing phase. In a training phase, basically, we have to split our overall data set into two things. One is a training data and the other one is a testing data. So basically, you can have a 80% and 90%. So you can have a ratio, different ratios for the training and testing. But the theory should be like what says that like more amount of data has to be used for the training than the testing. So usually what we do, we take 80% and 90% of the data for the training, and the remaining we use for the validations or the testing of model. Okay. So once assume that we are taking the training data as of now. So I was talking about the feature engineering methods, right? Because the machine doesn't know what images it belongs to. Like if you look at here, I was talking about we have how the machine is able to understand between these 2 images. Because when you give the images to the machine, it will consider as a 2D array with n number of pixels in the rows and columns, right? Pixel 0 represents the black, and then 255 represents as a white color, right? Then we'll have a gray shades. But when you look at here, it is a one 2D array matrix. Usually, the color images are represented as a RGB, which is a red, green, and blue channel. The matrix depth will be 3. but how does the machine can capture some images from this machine? So we were talking about the feature engineering, right? Like a color from this 2D matrix, can we get some unique meaningful features out of it, which the machine can understand between the iPhone and the Apple fruits, right? So that phase, what we call it, is a feature extraction phase. From the raw data, because when you feed the raw data to the machine, it's very challenging to understand between the n object. So from the raw data, we extract some meaningful feature vector, and then the extracted features goes to the either the machine learning or the deep learning models. Either you can go with the supervised or unsupervised machine learning approaches, and then once you train the model with the n number of training set of sample data, and then finally we try to validate the performance of the trained model. So basically, one of the concepts what we should follow, like I was talking about the 7 different types of emotions, right? So how the uniformity in the data. For example, you should have the equivalent number of sample data for each of these emotions. For example, I'm having 1,000 data for happy. Similarly, for the neutral also 1,000. So you should not have the one classes or 2 or 3 classes having more number of data when compared to the other classes. So what happens? There will be a problem like overfitting or misclassifications may happen. So we should avoid such a things by following like a thumb rule. Like we should collect the equivalent amount of data for all the kind of activity. So in this case, to validate, once we have the trained model and the test data, how do I validate my model? So basically, there are precision and recall and F1 score. We'll be calculating. No, there is a confusion matrix as well to validate how my model is performing. Okay. So now I was talking about supervised and unsupervised machine learning approaches, right? So let me give you a highlight about what is the difference between the supervised and unsupervised machine learning approaches. So here the intention is to build a, like basically animal classification. Let's assume that I want to build a cat and dog classifications. Okay. So here the number of training data here I have taken as a 6 sample data. So basically, this first column, which is a label or the output category, which we are saying that what category it belongs to, whether it's a cat or dog. As I said, for color images, we'll be having a 3 matrices, red, green, and blue matrices. So here I'm trying to extract the statistical features. Okay. So there are mean, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis. So these are some of the mathematical, the features which we can derive from the images. So here, what I did, each images I have converted into a 6-dimensional numerical value. So what I'm trying to say that to train a machine learning algorithm, where I extracted the statistical features and saying that I'm giving an input to the machine learning model. For these following features are belongs to cat, and these following features are belongs to dog or cat. So as I said, from the raw data, I extract the features, and then the extracted features goes to the any of these supervised or unsupervised machine learning algorithm. So in this case, which we are talking about KNN, let me explain you what is a KNN basically. So basically, KNN in the sense K nearest neighbor classifications algorithm, which is a part of structured machine learning approaches. So basically, what is going to happen here? Just assume that here we have 2 classes. One is a pink and the other one is in blue. So basically, it works on the Euclidean distance, sum of a squared difference between the 2 points, basically. So here, assume that this is my query data point. What is going to happen? Like assume that k is the number of neighbors which I'm defining as a k equal to 1. So here we try to identify the closest, first closest neighbors to the query or the test data points. So what is going to happen basically here? The black circled with the pink, what we are trying as a test data. So you try to compute a Euclidean distance between among all these data points. Okay. So basically, there will be n data points, and n distance you will be arriving at n distance. Among these n distance, you try to sort all the distance value into an ascending order and pick the topmost distance value which has the closest distance, which will be the closest data point for you. Those will be the classified one. So basically, so we can have any kind of machine learning algorithm. Either it may be a KNN, or it may be logistic regression, or it may be a support vector machine, or it may be random forest. But you should know, like, in which scenario we can go with the KNN, or what you can do, like you can benchmark all this model with this particular data set, and then you can finally arrive like some benchmarking with the performance. And for the productions or for the deployment or the testing final productions, you can decide like which model we can deploy it based on the performance metrics, like which I mentioned about precision and recall. Like I'll show you simple precision and recall or a confusion matrix. Assume that this is a confusion matrix. Basically, this confusion matrix says that, like, we'll be having a ground truth value, and this will be the ground truth value, the first column, and the remaining the rows, like if you look at here, these are the predicted value. Okay, so what here we are saying that there are 598 sample. Actually, it belongs to a bird category, and machine is also categorizing as a bird. Okay, so if both predicted and the ground truth values both are same, then we call it a true positive. And there are 8,908 samples which are belongs to not bird. Actually, it is not bird, and machine is also saying a not bird. Then we call it a true negative. There are like cases where we call it a false positive. There are 92 samples, we call it a false positive. But it is not a bird at all. In the images which we have given to the machine, there is no bird, is presence of bird is not there. But my machine is saying it is a bird. Okay, this is what we call it as a 92 samples. And there is a false negative. But actually it is a bird. There are 402 samples which are bird. Actually, the presence of image, there is a bird presence are there, but model is not predicting at all. It's so that's what we call it as a false negative. So using this, what we'll be able to compute this precision and recall and accuracy. So with respect to the classifications, basically. So coming back to I just want to talk about unsupervised machine learning algorithm quickly. I'll give you a glance about it. So basically, if you have seen here, there will be a labeled category for each of these sample data, the training data, which we give it to the machine learning algorithm. But coming back to the unsupervised machine learning, where we don't have a labeled category, because you cannot expect when you get some data from the customer, or when you create your own data, will not have the ground truth information, which is the output variable, right? Such case, obviously, what we have to do, like, or else manually you have to go and make your data into structured category. Structured in the sense, like, you should have which are the images are belongs to cat and which are the images are belongs to dog. So manually you have to group all these images, right? So which is going to be tedious and time consuming, right? Is there a way where we can build a machine learning algorithm which can automatically segment into two categories? So that's what we call it as a unsupervised machine learning algorithm, which I say that for here also, for the unstructured machine learning also, unsupervised machine learning, we are going to extract the features for all these training data, which here I have a 6 rows. All these features, statistical features, mean and standard deviation. So assume that I'm going for a k-means algorithm. So which is an unsupervised machine learning. First step, assume that how many categories you want, how many clusters or how many groups you want to categorize your data. Assume that I have a 1,000 images which I want to categorize into 3 groups. Okay, so there are 1,000 data. So initially, out of all those 1,000 data points, so we are not going with the raw data. So we are going to use k-means clustering. Input is the feature vector. Okay, so we don't say as image, it's a vector value. Okay, so this vector value we are going to feed into the k-means clustering. So out of all these data points, assume that the first data points is a cluster 1. I'm initializing the cluster centroid and randomly the cluster 2 and cluster 3. Okay, so now what is going to happen with the cluster 1 centroid, compute the Euclidean distance with all the data points which are present here. Okay, so sum of squared difference. like you'll have a cluster centroid with the same data points. You try to compute with the cluster 2 and cluster 3. So among these three clusters, which one has the small distance value, you put the data point into that particular clusters. Okay, so you try to repeat this process for all the data points. For all the data points, you try to compute the Euclidean distance with cluster 1, cluster 2, and cluster 3. So finally, you arrive at a 3 distance value, and then with the minimal distance, you put that particular data into that particular group. Okay, so you repeat for all the data points. Somehow you have grouped your data into 3 clusters, and then once you have the grouped clusters, compute a cluster centroid, taking the mean of all the data points present in your cluster. Similarly for the second cluster, third cluster. So now you have the updated cluster centroid value, right? So with the updated cluster centroid value, again you repeat this process of computing a Euclidean distance with the cluster centroid 1, 2, 3. So you are going to, when you are going to stop this process, when the cluster centroid doesn't going to change, or you have to say that how many iterations you want to perform this task. So these are how it works basically, the k-means clustering, right? So I'll skip this. Probably I'll move on to the demonstration. I have few more demonstration. I'll take another 5-10 minutes, and then I'll move on to the QA session. So I have few more demonstration. Probably you can have a glance of it. Like I'll give you outline. So this basically this is an initial level demonstration, which I could say, like to monitor the drowsiness of the drivers basically. So whether the driver, when the driver eyes closes, whether he's drowsy or whether he's sleepy. Like the AI models are very important with respect to the driver safety, right? So even there are like now the autonomous vehicles are like coming out, and the electrical vehicles are there. Like how we can monitor the vehicle history, like the tire pressures and the diesel. And there are, like, we can say that there is a AI car, like we say that, right? Every informations of vehicles we have in our mobile phone, right? There are different sensors which we deployed in the car, right? So with that parameters which we'll get in our mobile phone, so to say that when there is a like service are required, so all those things we can get it now. So nobody is required. Earlier, if I want to know the strength of our vehicle history, so we have to ask, like, how is my vehicle? Some mechanical we need to ask, right? Now nobody is required. AI is helping out in getting the analysis of our vehicles, right? So basically, this is with respect to safety, like how we can monitor the driver's behavior, like whether he feels sleepy, or like we can generate some kind of alert when he goes in a sleep mode, right? I'll show you another one, which is basically whenever I want to know the analysis of how many peoples are entering into the particular area, or a particular cafeteria, or it may be some shopping malls, or it may be any kind of scenarios. Like so in this case, we have used a deep learning based model to track or to count the number of peoples which they are entering into the premises, like whether they are going inside, or whether they are entry, or whether they are exit. And also we supposed to track the same same person will be appeared in the n number of frames, right? So we should not say that it's a different persons. So if you look at here, the same persons we are trying to track until he goes out of the frame, and then we count. We also identify in which direction people is moving, and based on the directions we say that it's a in entry or whether it's a exit. So the same use cases what we are trying to solve, like with respect to COVID-19, with the cafeteria, like people allowed to enter cafeteria will be 100 or 200. So what we did, we kept a camera over there, and then we identify the number of peoples which they enter into the cafeteria, and then we don't allow the people when they exit the no the limit basically. So you can think in what manner you want to have these kind of things in your business use case. Or this is another thing which I want to show you, which is actually part of my PhD, which I did on face recognition and video. Basically, which already have trained my faces and not on my home environment, and basically it tries to identify whether the person is known or whether the person is unknown. But still, it says that the Morgan or some because of the illuminations or the lighting condition, it may say that sometime it's unknown faces basically. So we should have some kind of a trained model for the face biometric system to identify. I think I just want to show you one thing about the spoof attacks. Have you came across on the spoofing attacks? Basically, initially when they launched with the no iPhone 10, right? So what happened? There was a problem with the spoofing, some unlocking with your photo or somebody. We can get it through the social media, right? I'll show you one what is in by Facebook. Just I'm trying to show the photo of mine, and probably it may can identify as a Morgan or just give me a minute. I'll so if you look at here, I'm showing for my face from my mobile phone, and it is saying as a Morgan, right? So most of these gadgets, right, electronic gadgets comes with the face biometric systems, right? So what is the problem is that where people can get your face images photo or some short video clip, and then easily they can spoof your biometric system. So how are you going to handle such a scenario, right? So what I did actually, I built my uh, model which can categorize whether the person is live or whether the person is using some spoofing, a fake photo. So which can basically will categorize whether it's a live face or whether it's a spoofing face. So I'm showing the live demonstration of it. So what we supposed to do basically here, similarly for this also, we should have a data for the fake images. I have very less data to difference between the fake and the real data. And then you can train your model with the set of fake and real data. And then you can have a systems to identify whether it's a fake image or whether it's a live. So basically you can have some kind of systems which is saying that it's a fake, though it is mine is also saying fake, but the quantum of data which I have used for to train a machine learning model is very less data. But usually what we do in a real time scenario, we work with the lakhs of data or thousands of data to train my models basically. I think quickly I have another 10 minutes. So before I wind up the sessions, probably we can move on to the uh, QA sessions. Like, can someone respond, like how we are going to take up the questions from the participants? Like,
Hello, sir. They have typed the questions in chat box, so I'll be reading of the questions.
1 second, probably if I could. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question from a participant. In what way machine learning is making an impact in NLP?
One business use case which I'm working with respect to NLP, like we are working with the after sales, the customers, they provide the feedback to analysis and the feedback, like a positive feedback and the negative feedback. Which I'm working on the to analyze the sentiment analysis, like customer feedback, like whether they are happy, whether they are sad, and also we are working with the chartbot for the chartbot to answer the the specific questions which is related to the policies with respect to company, like medical policy or leave policy. So those cases we have built a bot. It can intelligently responds to the queries to the employees. And also we are working on the another business use case, like invoice processing. Basically, invoice processing in the sense, let me show you one quick example. Here, invoice processing in the sense, there are lots of invoices which we receive every day, which is going to be a time consuming to make a payment, right? If they manually, if they do all the stuffs. So what basically we did, we build the machine learning models. The model will automatically, deep learning based model, will automatically extract the data from the so this is the sample invoices, like it will try to extract the invoice number, PO number, date, and what is the amount. So all those informations, what we are trying to do, we are trying to extract automatically. We have built a model to extract all these param and then label each of these extracted word, and then you try to give some unknown invoice data. Machine will extract all those param automatically. But I am more into image and video analytics. Very few business use cases which I have worked, and some of the hackathons which I solved as part of NLP use cases as well. Probably I'll show you my GitHub URL, and I have some of the use cases with respect to NLP for the sentiment classification. My Git ID I'll be posting in the chat. Probably you can have a look later. And I could recommend using Python, which is a very comfortable to deploy the models in the as a API, or maybe to deploy on the hardware, like IoT hardware like EA Jetson board and the Raspberry Pi board. So all those Coral device. So there are different devices which we deploy the models. Either it may be a cloud as a services, or even we deploy in the hardware as well. So for the deep learning and machine learning, we use a TensorFlow for the deep learning, and some of the OpenCV library for image video analytics for basic handling of image and video, and some of the libraries for the scikit-learn, matplot, numpy. So most of the things what we used, which are basically Python-based libraries.
So which software is used for training?
See, software in the sense, it's not a software, it's basically libraries, Python-based, the libraries. And then we used GPU machines to train a models, basically. If you're going to train your models on the CPU, so it's going to consume your time in a week or maybe a month. So we use cloud instances, GPU cloud instances to train the model. And then probably once we have the trained model, we can run it on the local machines or the wherever you want to use. There are Google Colab are available, which is a free platform which is given by the Google. I'll share you the link. You can go through it offline probably. I have pinged you the link. Maybe you can go through it. So I have given you my GitHub link also. There are several repositories out there which talks about different machine learning and deep learning use cases, which you can run on the Google Colab.
Okay, so we'll share this with the participants as they won't be able to see the link as well. So we'll share them through mail.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, that's all from now, sir. No more questions.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
can continue with the session.
We can close. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we can close, right? Or
Yes, if you are done, we'll follow with the valedictory part.
I'm done from my side, so I need to move to other meetings by 12:30.
Okay, sir. Okay. So we'll wind up, sir, in 5 minutes. Hello? On behalf of management and department of ECE, I would like to thank Dr. Mohanraj Venkatachalam for accepting our invitation and delivering a wonderful session. Thank you, sir. I extend my sincere gratitude to our beloved HOD for our constant support and guidance in organizing this webinar. I also thank Mr. Mahesha Y and Ms. Jayalakshmi for coordinating this event. I'm thankful to Mr. Ragesh Raju and all media cell members for their logistic support. Thanks to all the participants for your active participation, without whom this webinar wouldn't be possible. Thank you all. We will now end this session. Have a great day. Thank you.